This topic, Badani Yenga, limbs of striving, is a compound of two words, namely Badaniya and Anga. Badaniya means the practitioner, the meditator or yogi in essence. Anga means factors with which they are to be fulfilled with for the realization of concentration and knowledge and genuine pleasure, genuine peace and happiness. So this means, although we say just limbs of striving, it is the factors by which the yogis or the meditators should be fulfilled with in order to realize concentration, knowledge and real happiness. Buddha himself has said this in the beginning of this discourse more than 2,500 years ago, that bhikkhus, there are 5 things which should be fulfilled by the meditators, the practitioners. And what 5? Now this question was asked to the audience, not with the motive of getting answer from the audience, but if the audience give the answer, then they may give correct or incorrect answers. Everyone will have his or her own answer, and they may be correct or incorrect. So the question asked as what 5 by the Buddha means not is expecting answer. He was expecting answer from the audience, but he wanted to answer by himself this question, his own question, one by one. These 5 things to explain these 5 things one by one. So when the questions are asked, there are various motives of asking questions. Sometimes the question is asked to get the answer from the audience, or sometimes the questioner wants to enter into a discussion or an argument, or to give the answer by himself. So there are various motives for asking this question. Here, the Buddha asked a question, the audience, with loving kindness, with Mahakaruna, great compassionate feeling, in order to answer the question by himself. These 5 things to be fulfilled by the yogis, by the meditators, in order that to let them be fulfilled with these 5 things, in order to realize this concentration, knowledge and genuine happiness. Those people way at the back, can you hear me? Can you hear us? As for the foreign yogis, they need not understand what he is saying, so long as he understands what I am interpreting correctly. So the Buddha answered, first of all, like this: Ida bhikkhu bhikkhu saddo hoti. Ida means in this sasana, in this dispensation. Monks in this dispensation, the bhikkhu, or the person who is known as a bhikkhu, must possess saddha, translated as faith and confidence. Now bhikkhu, the Pali word, has been translated in English as monks. He does not know how this English word monk comes from. What is the root of this monk? He does not understand. However, as far as the Pali expression is concerned, he would like to explain this from the root. Then it will be interesting for the yogis. So that yogis who are practicing here will understand, will realize that they belong to the list of bhikkhus, and by which they will become inspired. Now we are subject to the process of conditioned psychophysical phenomena, which is known as samsara, round or feeling of births and rebirths, proceeding like a current, continuously, like seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, bending, stretching, lifting, moving, placing. All these things constitute samsara. Due to after this life, we are reborn in another life, as maybe as human being, or in the Deva world, and so on. If, however, you have done akusala, unskillful deeds, docharitas, immoral deeds, then you are bound to fall into lower destinies. This is also samsara. Even when you are doing wholesome, skillful deeds, as has been explained yesterday, you are not free from this existential suffering of old age, disease and death. It's not going to be comfortable, as was explained yesterday. You are bound to be followed by this suffering. You will not get what you want, not every time. Worse still, if you have done unskillful deeds, by virtue of which you are bound to fall into the lower destinies, like for instance animal kingdom, as you know, the strong one bullying the weaklings, as you can see all around you, full of dangers. So this akusala, the consequence of akusala deeds are fearful. So one has got to see the danger in this conditioned psychophysical phenomena called samsara. Seeing this, seeing fear, danger in samsara in itself is known as bhikkhu. So bhikkhu means the one who sees danger or fear in the rounds of existence, samsara, which is proceeding like a current continuously. So one has got to see the danger in the round of existence. So we have to find out the root cause, the source of this suffering. 100% of the suffering encountered by all beings have the root cause in these kilesas, such as craving, aversion and delusion, raga, dosa, moha. They are the root causes, they are the source. Due to lobha, kilesa, the defilement of greed, one is bound to encounter suffering. Due to the kilesa, dosa, kilesa, if one indulges in dosa, kilesa, one is bound to encounter suffering. So in this way, by doing wrong things, immoral deeds, based on this lobha dosa, one is bound to encounter suffering. So these kilesas are the root causes, they are the sources. So if you look, you are bound to see these causes. Of course, this samsara in which you are already in, the round of existence, you are in the wheel of existence already. You cannot just eradicate it, you cannot remove it, because you are already there. So you have to look at the root cause, the source, and try to overcome it. Try to eliminate it, if possible, uproot it altogether. So as for these kilesas, namely raga, dosa, moha, craving, aversion and delusion, at the time of their arising, when you are attacked or invaded or overwhelmed by these kilesas, they tend to torment you. They are very tormenting. You will be tormented by these kilesas so that you become wearied. And they burn like fire so that you will feel very hot. And it is said that this kind of fire is the internal fire which arises in yourself. It's very difficult to extinguish. So while they are arising, at the moment of their arising, you are not comfortable. You are suffering. You will suffer. And what is the aftermath of this kilesa? As a result of kilesa, if you do unskillful deeds, then also you are bound to suffer again. So both the present and the future are not good for you if you indulge in these kilesas. So once you understand this situation, you will be afraid to encounter this suffering. So in order that you don't encounter this suffering, you will find out the cause. You know the cause now. You try to weaken this cause or causes, and if possible, eliminate or uproot them altogether. So at least weaken or eliminate or uproot the kilesas, the gross forms of kilesas, which will make you fall down into the lower destinies. That is the first thing you should do. Now the kilesas that we have just discussed are of three kinds, or three grades. First of all, the transgressive or gross form or trespassing form of kilesas, the gross forms. The second one is obsessive or medium form of kilesas, defilements. And the third one is the refined form of defilements, latent or underlying tendencies. As much as there are three grades of defilements, there are also three kinds, three methods to eradicate or overcome these defilements. So this will be discussed now. Now, we have to understand these things. That is the right way to practice. Now, if we don't understand the grades of kilesas in this way and the method to eradicate them, what will happen? As the Buddha has said, most of us walk the wrong path instead of walking the right path. So as for the beings, since there's nobody to show the way, the right way to walk on, most beings walk the wrong path instead of the right path. It's a pity that beings are ignorant and are not able to walk the right path. If we don't know how to walk the right path and abstain from the wrong path, it will be just like a blind person, who is born blind. He or she will not know which path is right, which path is wrong. So that if there's nobody to help him or her, he or she is bound to fall in the ditch, in the chasms, in the ravines and so on, and meet with death. And he or she may commit unskillful deeds such as killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, taking intoxicants and all that. They will just indulge in these unskillful deeds in their whole life. That is why the Buddha has shown the right path. That if you follow the right path, you are bound to reach the right destination. If you follow the wrong path, you will reach the wrong destination. So in order that beings will not reach wrong destination, the Buddha has given the method, shown the way, the right way to walk on. To practice skillful deeds by body, speech and mind. This is the basic way that the Buddha has shown. If one indulges in these kilesas, and as a result of these kilesas, lobha, dosa, moha, if one commits unskillful deeds, immoral deeds, though such a person is a human being, he or she is not really a worthy human being. He or she is said to be degraded from the status of human being. So, if one abstains from immoral deeds, such as killing, stealing and so on, then one will be able to uphold one's dignity. If one is not able to abstain from these things, immoral deeds, and commit immoral deeds, then one is said to be transgressing the conduct, vitekama kilesa, degrading oneself, at the same time harming others. Because when you commit these transgressive acts, you will not only degrade yourself, but also harm others. So just imagine, let us say, if as a result of anger, you want to harm others or kill others, then just think. If you have no sympathetic feeling, then you are bound to commit this unskillful deed. But if you put yourself in another's position, having a sympathetic feeling, then you will not wish to be harmed or killed. This is not justified. This is not correct. So whether you know the act as correct or not, if you commit it, then you will not be protecting others. At the same time, you will be harming yourself. You will be defiled. So if you are able to abstain from these unskillful deeds through the power of reason, because you have this healthy fear, healthy shame to commit unskillful deeds, through this reasoning power, you abstain from unskillful deeds, then you will not be defiled. At the same time, you will not be harming others. Instead, you will be protecting others. If you don't abstain from these unskillful deeds, then you will be committing these transgressive defilements. We take kilesa. If you abstain, then with sustaining this sila, morality, or virtuous conduct, you will not be committing these transgressive defilements. You will be free from transgressive defilements by virtue of your vows of precepts. Just think about it carefully. Harming others, killing others, such act, physical act, is blameworthy. If it is blameworthy, it cannot be pure, physically impure. Your physical conduct is impure. If it's impure, it will be violent, gross and despicable. So if not knowing this, you commit it. If you commit it, then you are said to be breeding dosa, anger. It amounts to it. So knowing that, taking this vows of precept, the first precept, abstaining from killing, knowing that such an act is unskillful, unwholesome, then by abstaining from this, your physical conduct will be pure, blameless and affable. In this way, knowing this, you abstain from killing or harming others. As much as you abstain from killing or harming others, you are said to be overcoming or ridding yourself of this vitekama dosa, transgressive form of anger. So this in itself means that you are destroying this kilesa. This is the quality of bhikkhu. So bhikkhu is the one who destroys kilesa. So also with the other precepts of stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, false speech and taking intoxicants. Mostly these unskillful deeds are based on greed, lobha. If you transgress these things, if you commit these things, commit these transgressive acts, then you are degrading yourself, defiling yourself at the same time, harming others, not protecting others. This amounts to keeping greed or breeding it, not destroying it, not overcoming it. So if you abstain from such acts, transgressive acts, with sila sika, morality training, you are said to be destroying it, subduing it. And such a person is known as bhikkhu. If one is not able to abstain from these unskillful deeds, you are bound to be subject to these danger of self-blame, because you know yourself that you are committing unskillful deeds, you are blameworthy, impure. So, because you know yourself, you'll be blaming yourself. That is the danger of self-blame. And then it will be censured by the society, especially by the wise, because of your misdeeds. And because you are committing this breaking the law, you may be disciplined by the law. And the future is not going to be comfortable for you. Because of your misdeeds, you will fall into lower destinies. So, with the wild, violent, gross physical behaviors, because of these acts, you are bound to fall into lower, violent destinies. Violent acts will bring you to violent destinies. That is logic. Despicable destinies. If you do not abstain from these unskillful deeds, you will be degraded. Not as a worthy human being. You will be degraded from that status because of your wrongful intentions, chilna. And if you abstain, sustain these precepts, you are said to be upgraded. Your human status is said to be upgraded. So these things, transgressive acts, are to be abstained by all beings. These are the basic conduct, the world conduct. It is not confined. This kind of morality is not confined to just Buddhists or Christians and so on. It applies to everybody in the world, whether he or she believes in certain faith or not. He or she is to observe these precepts. So these are the things to be abstained from everybody. This is the conduct of the world, these 5 precepts. So if you don't practice, if you don't abstain, then you will be transgressing. You'll be committing these transgressive acts based on lobha, dosa, moha, kilesas. You are said to be breeding them, keeping them. And if you abstain, you are said to be destroying or subduing these transgressive kilesas. That's why you have become basically sila bhikkhu, moral bhikkhu. If you just think about yourself, and thinking or knowing or reflecting that these despicable, gross, violent behaviors are frightful, they are to be abstained, one should be ashamed of committing such things, then as much as you have this kind of reflection, you will not harm others. At the same time, you will not be defiling yourself. You will not cause fear in others because of your good deeds. So, if you abstain from such unskillful deeds, your physical, verbal behaviors will become pure and affable. even in this very life, let alone in the future life. Whenever you think about it, you will feel satisfied with yourself. There will be no self-blame. There will be self-satisfaction. And you will not be censured by the society, by the wise. The society will be very happy with you. And you will not be disciplined by law. Because you are a good citizen. These are the immediate benefits that you are going to get. Let alone your results, consequences in the life after. You are bound to reap the immediate benefit in this very life. Now some say that the Buddha Dhamma is mainly for the good of future life. It is not so. Buddha Dhamma leads to good, pleasant life in this very life. Even in this very life, you will be pure, dignified, upgraded, and free from blame in this very life. This is the result that you can get with the practice of the Buddha Dhamma. So, this is a good practice, good habit to make yourself pure and affable, so that you are not degraded. At the same time, not harming others. When one commits transgressive acts as a result of lobha dosa, one is bound to cause enmity or make enemies, vira. So this enemy comes from oneself. Internal enemy, call it. It does not come from the external source. It comes from your own self. As for the external enemy, you only encounter at times, not all the time. As for internal enemy, you are encountering all the time. So this is more important. So if you abstain, knowing that one should abstain, then you will be overcoming these gross forms of dangers, which is the internal enemy. You are said to have subdued the internal enemy. So this is like giving a kind of dana, a kind of generosity, known as aveda dana, giving fearlessness. And because you are free from internal enemy, you are not blaming yourself. There will be no self-blame. The society also will not censure you. At the same time, you will not be disciplined by law, and you will be free from falling into destinies. Because you are free from this internal enemy, you have subdued your internal enemy, you need not be afraid in your life. There will be no fear, no danger. You will be able to live happily. Then there will be nothing to be afraid of. So it is better that you are free from this internal enemy. And this kind of generosity is a kind of giving, fearlessness, abhyadana, or freedom from danger, causing freedom from danger in others. This is a kind of generosity, spiritual gift, which is higher than the material gift. Abhyadana, generosity, giving away fearlessness. This is also known as a mahadana, great gift, or great generosity. So, even if you cannot help your fellow being, because of your lack of material wealth or material belongings, that's all right, but not to harm others, to be free from internal enemy, not to cause fear in others, which is more important. Even if you cannot give, The material gift, you should be able to give the spiritual gift, the gift of fearlessness, the gift of freedom from fear. So this is Abhyadana, and which is more important than material gifts. Even if you cannot afford to make material generosity, material gift, so long as you don't harm others, you don't cause suffering in others, you don't cause fear in others, this is much better, higher kind of gift. So, by not giving harm to others, you are sort of helping others, which is very important, and basically you have become a cultured person. Because you are free from internal enemy, you are not degrading yourself, you are not defiling yourself, at the same time not harming others, instead you are protecting others. This is the basic, pragmatic and realistic human culture. So, to be able to live like a worthy human being, first of all, you have to subdue or control or conquer your internal enemy with sila. With morality, you are able to win this battle. Then you become basically a sila bhikkhu. You are said to be in the list of sila bhikkhu. This in itself is good enough. However, if the mind is not controlled with the practice of mindfulness, sati, and leaving the mind uncontrolled, unrestrained, then as for the mind which lacks control, it will go here and there, a lot of restlessness and distraction and scattering. So there will be no mindfulness. Because of the lack of mindfulness, when you encounter lustful object, lust craving will arise. You will crave for this object, and there will be this thinking, this thoughts of covetousness, sexual misconduct, false speech, and intoxicants leading to violent behaviors. Then, if you are not satisfied with something, dissatisfaction, dosa, anger, aversion, when you encounter some hateful object which can arouse anger in you, then you will wish to harm others, vent your anger upon others, because your mind lacks control, because you leave the mind unrestrained. So whenever you encounter these objects which can cause craving, aversion and delusion, these defilements are bound to arise in your stream of consciousness, so that your conduct, your mind will become impure, low, gross and violent. So, you have, as much as you conquer your physical vile behaviors with sila, you should be able to conquer this obsessive defilements with mindfulness, sati. That is, with the axiom, guard your mind all the time with the vigilant mindfulness of every arising. Sustaining your sati with energy and proper focusing. Try to connect every arising object so that your mind falls collected on the object. Then there will be no obsessive defilements. You are said to be able to control your mind free from these obsessive defilements which can arise in your mind, parayutthana kilesas. So you are said to be controlling your mind with samadhi sekha, concentration training. So in that way, you are said to have become samadhi bhikkhu, at least on a part-time basis, during the time that you are practicing this mindfulness. You have become samadhi bhikkhu. You are in the list of samadhi bhikkhu. So as much as you are able to control these transgressive forms of defilements with morality, sila, you should have faith and confidence that you are able to control these obsessive defilements with the practice of mindfulness. So if the yogis are practicing all the time, except the time when they are fast asleep, in all the 4 postures, practices mindfulness to deepen your concentration. Every time you deepen your concentration, you are said to be overcoming these obsessive defilements, paryutthana kilesas. You are said to be destroying them. You are said to be subduing them, overcoming them. And every time your mind is concentrated, you are winning over these obsessive defilements. So letting this kind of mind develop continuously is known as bhavana, mind development practice. So that with the bhavana, you are said to have become bhavana bhikkhu. Furthermore, there is another kind of defilement known as anusaya kilesa, that is latent tendencies or dormant type of kilesas. This kind of kilesas lies dormant in yourself, and they only arise when circumstances permit, when the conditions are favorable. Otherwise, they lie dormant and latent. Such kind of kilesas is known as anusaya kilesa, latent or dormant type of kilesas. Now, such kilesas can only be overcome on a part-time basis with Vipassana Panya, insight knowledge, and full-time basis with the path consciousness. At this time, we are not to discuss as yet this Vipassana Panya and Ariya Panya, but to understand that this kind of latent tendencies, anusaya, can only be overcome by this Vipassana Panya. That much should be understood. So that we need to practice still Panya Sekha, wisdom training, in order to overcome or eliminate on a part-time basis the latent tendencies, destroy these latent tendencies. And in that respect also, we are said to have become Panya Bhikkhu. So now by subduing these defilements, you win over them in this gross form, medium form and refined forms. 3 stages have been discussed. Understanding that there are 3 stages of kilesas, gross, medium and refined, and respective methods to overcome or subdue these kilesas, namely the sila sekha, samadhi sekha and panya sekha, morality training, concentration training and wisdom training. And now also understanding that these kilesas are the root cause of suffering, human suffering. And if you don't want to encounter suffering, all you have to do is just go deal with the root cause or overcome, weaken or eradicate these root causes with the practice of sila, samadhi, panya. So now you know the method of subduing or overcoming, and there's no other method except this method of the way of mindfulness. And in this way, by practicing, you have become bhikkhus. Then this bhikkhu applies also not only to monks but to men and women, to nuns, men and women. Well, Sir touches on these equal rights of men and women in the West. Now here is a case where you are entitled to equal rights by becoming bhikkhus, by being able to overcome these 3 grades of defilements with the 3 types of training. You can become bhikkhu. There's no discrimination in this respect. So you should have faith in this, that there are these 3 grades of defilements which can be overcome by 3 kinds of training, so that you can win victory over these kilesas. You can ask yourself whether you have faith in it or not. If you have faith, then you are said to be fulfilled with the first of these limbs of striving, that is saddha. So, if you are not certain, if you have some doubts, then you are not fulfilled with the first of the limbs of striving. So you have to ask yourself. Sayadaw says he believes that since you have come all the way, miles away, leaving your dear ones and occupation, business, and to endure some sort of suffering in the practice, you must have faith in this. However, in the course of the practice, one's faith can be disrupted. The saddha can be, disturbed for some reason or other. This will be, of course, discussed from his own experience. And as for him, he came into the realm of the Dhamma with much faith, but later on, in the course of the practice, he had some doubts. But these doubts were overcome by the teachers and his own wise considerations. He was able to walk on the right path later on. So now we understand that my bhikkhu is one who is afraid, who is fearful, who sees danger in samsara rounds of existence, and who eradicates kilesas, which are the causes of suffering, with the 3 stages of practice. And you have to ask yourself also whether you believe in this. As his experience will be, of course, dealt with in the next lecture. Now, it's already 1 hour, 20 minutes, so we stop here for this evening. Sadhu, 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 sadhu.